This is the Ninja's Way podcast, where we talk all things ninja industry, ranging from top-tier athletes to the local ninja entrepreneur. Listen to their journey to success as they conquer obstacles in ninja and in life. This is the Ninja's Way. Welcome back, everybody, to the Ninja's Way podcast. We are talking with Ninja Gym owners Brandon and Bailey from Elite Ninja Development in Chilliwack, Canada. They went from homemade equipment and backyard birthday parties to less than 2 years later having a thriving ninja community with close to 200 kids in it. They are really the epitome of the minimum viable product model, and just two really passionate entrepreneurs who have a love for ninja and were able to bring a awesome vision to life. So we're going to talk with them about their story and how they were able to build this gym from seemingly nothing. We also have Jake on here from Conquer Ninja. He is our co-host. Tell me just a little bit of background about you guys personally. What got you into ninja and how did this whole thing even start?
I'm from Saskatchewan. I'm from like a small town. I started my sports career really focused on football, played football for 12, 15 years, and that eventually brought me to Chilliwack. I was in Chilliwack playing football and working just like a retail job that was very unfulfilling towards me. My girlfriend at the time was working in a gymnastics gym that had a ninja program, and she knew, of course, where I was feeling with work. So she said I should try to apply for the gym she was working at and get into it that way. And I did, and then that's when I was introduced to the sport and worked as a coach for a little while. And as my skills in coaching grew, I really found a passion for the sport in it, especially once I was introduced to like the higher level side of the sport, the competitive side. I really was excited about it, and it just grew and ballooned from there.
So for most of my life, I've always been passionate about fitness, just exploring a lot of sports. I did a lot of rugby. So I used to train a lot more kind of in the traditional sense of like being in the gym, working on free weights and whatnot. I didn't do ninja like before my first job with ninja. I didn't have a lot of exposure to it other than American Ninja Warrior. That's really all that I was aware from it was. Yeah, it was just one day I was at the gym just regularly training, and I saw you actually on it was one of those welded barbells, and I've never seen someone train like that before. So whenever I see someone training in like a different way, I get curious because it could be for sport, it could be for competition. It caught my interest. My first thought was probably not good for the bars, but I thought that would be a dorky thing to talk about. So I was just like, all right, I'll just ask what's going on. So you told me that you were training for ninja. We had a little conversation about that. And you were, hey, if you ever wanted to try it, like it's a real thing that was a real possibility. After kind of meeting you and Charlie, getting exposure to the sport, being able to come by a facility and check it out, I would say that really caught my interest. And then from there were just many things that came along with ninja training that has locked me in for life.
Yeah, and there's a little nugget for you guys out there. We had just moved to a brand new country. We didn't know anybody. And I was at the gym. I was balancing on a straight bar. And it's like you have to keep your eyes open for the opportunity that there could be a potential staff member everywhere that you go. And I had this conversation with Bailey, and he was just so animated. He was talking with his hands and he was excited about what he was talking about. And I was like, dude, have you ever coached kids? And he was like, no, I've never coached kids, right? He had no ninja coaching experience, no coaching experience in general. And just from the way I had interacted with him, I knew that his energy would just attract kids right away. I was like, oh, I got to get you into the gym, man. Come do an interview with me. Why don't you guys fast forward a little bit? Tell me about what was the catalyst that made you guys go from ninja coaches in a program to thinking about opening up a ninja gym?
There was a lot of it just came with time, but for me it was a lot of things that would maybe seem small but really impacted me on a major way. As I was coaching, I really poured my all into it, put the best effort that I could in, but I realized as I was coaching, I started to see the real impacts of what a coach can have, someone who's just a positive impact. And every once in a while, you'd have a student just come in with a handwritten card or a gift of some sort. Be like, hey, coach, I made this for you. And honestly, that kind of melted my heart because, oh, that's so sweet. And I think there was a few things. Being put into a position where I had the responsibility to make a positive impact, especially for myself. Like when I was younger, I didn't really have the best influences around me. I think I can understand the kind of mistakes that you could make without having positive influences. So being able to help others grow and learn without maybe having make the same mistakes is huge for me. As well as once you build the relationships with the students a little bit more, you get to see what they're passionate about. You see them work so hard on the course. There's been some times where I'm seeing like where they're playing on equipment, but it's like they're at battle. They're working so hard. They're fighting themselves. They're pushing themselves so much. And I know if they can carry that on into other aspects in their life, they'll do really well. So I think it's the most fulfilling job I've had because it allows me to be a positive influence to others and it allows me to connect with the community in like a deeper way. And that's been the thing keeping me like engaged the whole time.
Yeah, that's a great point. What you just brought up is the actual culture you're creating in your gym, and you're getting the benefits from that as a coach and an owner. That's exactly what you're talking about, is that healthy culture.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a lot of the same. Sports pulled me out of some like really rough situations when I was younger that I was like mentally and physically in. And through sports and coaches, they guided me to paths that were significantly better than I could have followed without them. As well as on top of it, there was in our area, there was a huge just opportunity to do ninja in a different way and in a way that I feel could be more impactful to the kids and more impactful to the sport and have a huge impact on every single person who's involved in it. So I really wanted to push that to its limit. I'm a person who does everything like all or nothing, and being once I found the passion that I had for the sport, being just a coach like didn't fulfill me as much as I could see pushing the sport forward, pushing the kids to a higher level, and all of these things would be fulfilling to me. So it was just like I wanted to try to push it in the sport as far as I could. And opening a gym seemed like the best opportunity for me to do.
Yeah.
How long have you been in the ninja? Like, when was your first time you were introduced? Like a couple years, 5 years, 10 years?
Like 3 years ish
Okay.
now, maybe 3 years.
Yeah, about 2020. I think our start to Ninja was very much in near the timing of like when COVID really started to become the whole pandemic and everything. So it was around the year of 2020, and that was definitely an interesting time to be coaching as well, just because it came with such unique situations to be coaching in.
The reason I ask is, for our listeners, I don't have a relationship with you guys. I just met you via today. So you don't have a ton of experience in the ninja world itself. A few years, which is plenty. But what type of business background? Were you guys in business before this, or is this kind of your first venture in the business realm too?
I I managed at a restaurant and managed at a retail store. That was a lot of it. I was 22 or 21 when we started this, so I didn't have a lot of time for gaining a lot of that experience. I think the biggest thing was just like both Bailey and I have we are willing and ready and want to grow. When we were faced with the opportunity and started asking questions, we were trying to soak in as much information as we could about how do I run a business? How do I do these things? I'd had a few things that I could draw from to guide us in some ways, but for the most part, it was just like asking questions constantly and then trying things that mostly didn't work at the beginning to figure out what does and just build from there.
Yeah, and I guess where I was going with those two questions, you guys, is what ultimately empowered you to, one, take on Ninja, and then the Ninja business, the business of Ninja? What really empowered you for that, to do that?
For me, it was being a part of the program. It made me reshape my perspective on things. So, one, it made me reshape my perspective on just relationships in general. And two, it made me reshape like my thoughts towards the future. It was more so very just go with the flow. We'll see what happens. That's my typical nature. It's just like we'll see what happens and see how it goes. But being part of a program and kind of working with Brandon and with others as well, just seeing how rewarding it can be to be part of a good team, because I've worked a bunch of jobs. I have a ton of experience over a lot of different fields, and I find in a lot of careers or industries you can have an awesome team but the work itself stinks, or you can have the opposite where the work is awesome but the team kind of stinks. But I found working with these individuals that, one, we were on the same page, the expectations were clear, we were working towards a common goal and everything. But the thing that ultimately made me reshape my thoughts on what it's like to run a business, what it's to be a member of the community, is just the genuine care that we have for each other. It was astounding. It blows you away, because usually work can just feel like work. You go in, you do the reps, you just do your shift, and you're done. But genuinely with this team, it's like I know that I'm someone who's looked after. I know that like my team has my best in mind, as well as they're willing to really support me and help encourage me achieve my goals in and out of the gym. So for me, that's where I'm like, okay, this is the community we want. This is the culture that I love. So that's when I started thinking about that more, is how can I provide this for others if I can get myself into that position.
I agree with everything Bailey said. My reasons are like not as profound, I would say. My reasons are very much of like risk is obviously a factor in anything. I played football for years and was building a career out of football where there's risk of move wrong and you break your neck and your athletic career is done. So there's risk in everything, and I'm just comfortable in that position. But for me, I had chosen to stop playing football for my girlfriend. We were getting married and I was trying to build a career, and it was just like, this doesn't make sense for me to be traveling all over the country and potentially getting hurt trying to build a future and build a family. So I had stopped there, and outside of football, I didn't have options really other than working a management job, working a minimum wage. There wasn't anything that I could build a future off of. So it was just an opportunity of, I like this ninja thing and I need to create an opportunity so that I can build my family and build my friends and all those things.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Necessity is a driver a lot of the time too. So that's all valid and relevant.
Yeah. So I want people to understand like how far you guys have really come. I've had the unique honor and pleasure of consulting you guys through this process and being along with you for the journey. You guys were coaches, you got fired from your positions, and then you're like, okay, what's next? Walk people through what were your next steps? And what did you guys do to like you didn't have any money, you didn't have any equipment, you didn't have a lead list or anything. You had built some relationships within the community, but what did you guys do?
We were doing things to a very small scale, a lot of like putting out probes basically of, hey, what does this seem like? And we were just trying to figure out what it actually entails to run a business. And then, as you said, we were let go from our current position at the time. It was just necessity. It was like, okay, now we need to figure this out. So we had planned a community event with the intention of just bringing more people to know the sport, because in the world, ninja is a legitimate sport. There's so much that can be done to build awareness of it, but especially in Canada and in our small area, nobody even knows what the sport is. And so we were trying to build awareness for that. After we were let go, it was just, oh, okay, we need to be serious about this. So we had saved up like 5 grand between the two of us, something like that. And I remember to this day, the first time we were walking through Home Depot with a cart full of lumber, and I was looking at Bailey going, I can build this equipment. I can make this happen. And he was going, are you sure? And outwardly confidence, inwardly, there was some nerves. We were about to drop half of what we'd saved up to start this business on it, but obviously it worked out well. And then we sold a spring camp. We were talking to a school and they wanted a spring camp in their school, and we were like, yeah, we can do this. This is what we can give as a program for your school. And they bought it, and it was a really cool, interesting situation, because we were driving away and it was like 50% of me was like, holy crap, we can actually do something. Like, people will buy what we're selling. And the other 50% of me was like, we need some equipment. We need to actually put this together. So it was, I think that's been with every step. It was like a mix of excitement and fear, but it was just, all right, we don't have jobs. We got to get this going.
Yeah, and Bailey, you did such a good job during this time frame of just like hitting the pavement, building relationships, and like you were on your bike, biking through Chilliwack, just stopping in businesses and talking to people. And you came up with a lot of really cool ideas around just community events and partnering with other events, and then you guys hosting your own events at parks and things like that. Bailey, I'd love for you to speak to that and what was the driver behind wanting to just go out and get into the community?
Yeah, absolutely. So I still remember the day when we fully committed. There was like no looking back. It was I wouldn't necessarily say fully shocked just because it's like you're expecting it, but then the reality hits. Like Brandon said, there was a lot of fear. There was a lot of fear going up throughout the entire thing, but there was never any doubts because I believed in us and I believed in the mission and the passion. So honestly, it felt like limitations were lifted off of us. So we were starting with nothing, which was scary, but that also put us into the position where we can really try anything. There's nothing really holding us down, so we can go and do anything. So there was just a few things that we had in mind. Obviously, we're going to need equipment. We're going to need a location. We'll probably need someone to like let us lease a location or something like that. So I bike around often. I like to go on bike rides to clear my mind a little bit. And so what I would do is this, as I'm biking across the city, I am looking at locations that could possibly be a fit. It could be a church, it could be a school, it could be literally some random person's garage. I would just go knock on their door, be like, "Hi, I'm Bailey. Really excited to meet you. These are the things that I'm working towards. Do you think any of this would catch your interest? Is this something we can work towards?" And often I would get a lot of no's, but I found what that did is that it started building real relationships a little bit. It as well as it put into reality some of the options. So as soon as like some people would be like, yeah, we could probably look into that, it would build a little bit of the confidence because it opened up opportunities. And then after doing that a little bit, getting a little bit clearer of an idea of what we'll be going towards, I just talked to every business I could. So I'd go into downtown, I'd go talk to arcades, I would go talk to bookstores, anywhere, just being like, hey, we're super excited to be doing this thing. We love to partner up with the community, just trying to get an understanding of who they are as individuals, what their business operates like. I remember going into this lady, Connie, bless her, she's the best. She sells dog food, but it's like specialty treats. So it's like really amazing quality as well as it's like a bakery for dogs. And I went in there, no real understanding of what I'm going to do. And it doesn't even relate to Ninja anyway. It's like a dog food company. So I walk in, Connie there, she has a great old smile. We just get to having a conversation, and the majority of it wasn't even about what the next step should be. It was more so just being like talking about why would I pursue something like this and like what the kind of job is, and just she was more interested about the impact to the kids and what are the kids doing in this. And as soon as she found that there was more opportunities for kids to themselves, and she was super excited, and I felt like she fed off the passion a little bit. But going in there with no real clear kind of goal of what's going to happen, I found at the end of the conversation, she was discussing about some things to explore. So she gave me a local like Facebook news organization to go to. She gave me the number of one of our local news reporters, and that helped us get a little bit more exposure to our events. She connected us with a guy named Trevor who works downtown, and he works with a lot of businesses. So it was just a positive conversation as well as like soundboarding some ideas. And honestly, as I was talking, I was like, I didn't really know what the next steps are, but she could just know that there was a lot of passion behind it. Building those relationships really helped in the beginning stages, because when we had nothing, they gave us some options to explore, which was super helpful.
So Bailey, it sounds like you're naturally outgoing in the sense that you don't have really approach anxiety or anything like that. Brandon, are you similar to this, or is that more Bailey's thing?
I can do it, but it's tougher
It's
on like
not
tougher
as
for me.
natural.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not as
no, and
natural.
I'm with you there. It's more of a necessity of rather than just a natural thing. So Bailey, my question for you is what would be some advice for people that don't naturally just have the anxiety around that to get out there and hit the neighborhood and talk to strangers? What would be a bit of advice for people?
Mm.
Oh, okay. That's a really good question, actually. And I had to think about this quite a bit. I think the things that helped me the most was just a 100% belief. And that doesn't mean your next step.
Totally.
Definitely a lot of concern and fear. And it's, oh, not only am I myself a part of this, I've now committed other people's lives to this as well. So my advice would be to think about what your vision is, what the dream is. And for me, that's building a community and an environment where kids can grow, learn, be safe, have fun, challenge themselves, as well as I did get to see the growth of that from students. There are some students in our program who, when they first started, they're like, I'm going to give up. I'm going to quit. I don't believe in it. I can't do it. And now they're like, I can't be beaten. I won't be beaten. So it's, for me, it's, I very clearly know why I'm in this. So for me, it's okay. I want to do that, something that's genuinely good. Why would I have a hard time with that, in a sense? I battled that a lot. So instead of coming from it of a perspective of what do I want specifically, I tried to think about the benefits of the vision more than anything, and that kind of comforted me. Because a lot of the times when I had those fears, it was like, oh, I'm worried that people are going to see me as greedy, or potentially, oh, they might not think I'm serious. I'm too young. I'm too inexperienced. I comforted it in the sense of, I don't know what the result of this is going to be, but at least I can at least present it as an idea. And if other people can reciprocate to it, then great. And we can start moving it. But I would just say, really believe in what you're doing. If you have something that is genuinely going to be good and you believe it with your soul, have a lot of comfort in that, because other people will find that to be valuable as well.
Yeah,
Perfect.
absolutely. I love that question. It's so good because I know a lot of people, like for me, I'm such an introvert, and it's like being a business owner has forced me to be an extrovert and forced me to
Yeah.
be better at that skill. That's definitely something you got to work at. So, you guys were in a church, right? You guys were running a spring camp, and then you got to the point where you were getting ready to launch an actual location with some real-time equipment and the whole thing. So, let's talk about the pre-sale period a little bit. So why don't you guys talk about your pre-enrollment numbers of like where you actually ended up? What did you do to leverage the momentum that you made in the community to help with your pre-sale? Because you guys really did start out hitting the ground running, where I think a lot of gyms would wish that they could be. What was your secret sauce to your pre-sale, and what advice would you give others who are maybe 6 months out or even 8 months out from opening up a gym? Like, what actions should they be taking?
Our biggest thing was just being in the community. So all of what Bailey did gave notice to a lot of people of him running around and talking to people. We did multiple community events that were either put on for cheap or free. And it was just, all of that was to try to get us as a business in front of everyone's eyes, and just get more people to see it. And then when it came time to launch into our permanent location, it was just like emails, phone calls to everyone we had talked to. At that point, it was probably, oh, we probably had a list of 300-400 people that we had encountered throughout the summer and had different conversations with, whether that be at our events or just people that we had talked to and been like, hey, can I get your number? And from there, it was just like days straight of calling people, letting them know that this is coming, letting them know that we have this. The biggest one that helped, in my opinion, was we did the Chilliwack Fair. It's just a mass gathering of people that happens naturally, and we were able to be a part of that. It was 2 very long days in the heat, and I think it had a huge benefit because we were able to not only show the people and the families the wooden equipment and stuff we had on the floor, but we had like a display set up of, hey, and this is what's coming. Small like gym program had, I think by that time, probably around 50 people in it, when we were just in the like gymnasium. So we were able to talk to a lot of those people and then add on all the new people. I think it was just being out in the community, running all of these events. Although we didn't have all the fancy equipment and everything quite yet, I think it did show people that, hey, we're serious about it, because you'd have people that would come up to us and be like, yo, I saw you guys last weekend at this park. And it just showed people that we were serious about it and we were going to push it to as far as we could. And it gave them the comfort to be able to sign up with us, knowing that we would continue to grow because they'd probably seen us grow over the month of the summer or whatever that they've been interacting with us.
Can you give us an idea how big your community actually is, your city? I'm not too familiar.
Yeah.
So it's about 100,000 people.
Yeah.
Okay. Right on.
Yeah, but you guys really did do the work though. I remember us very, very vividly talking to you guys about, did you call your leads? Did you call them again? And just actually doing the reps, doing the boring work that everybody wants to avoid. But you guys were willing to go in there and do the work and do the calls and continuing to work these leads and work these leads. And I think that's why your launch was so successful with what you guys ended up at about 100 kids before you even started. Is that right?
Yeah.
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 The thing that helped us significantly too is as we got people experience our program, like we grew with them. For example, it was like in our very early stages before we were even in a facility, we would offer birthday packages in the community. So it literally we'd bring a couple wood boxes, some balance beams, and we would go to a public park and just do a ninja party. But the things that would like from there, what would happen is we would invite those people to our events. When we did get closer to other activities too, it was like, okay, here's this school program that we have to offer. As we were growing, the clients grew with us. It wasn't just only an event and we'll talk to you when we open. Because we did so many events, it was like they got to be with us for every step of the journey. Even if they just started with the birthday, it went from like a birthday to a competition that we did in the community to our school gym to our main facility. So a lot of people that started with us early, we really want to build the relationships with our customers. Like we really do care about the families in our community. So it wasn't just like a bunch of random new people. From the very, very start, it started with 1 to 3, but they grew into 5 and it grew into more and more. But it wasn't just all at once. It was a slow process throughout the entire time.
Yeah, and I love that because that community like rallied around you guys, and you were aware enough to be like, "Hey, we're going to be at this park next weekend. Come out!" And just taking them along for that journey. And I'm sure a lot of those kids are still with you guys now with your existing program.
Now that you're more established and you're growing into this, are you still that active with some of those community events, or is it more in gym at this point?
The actual state of the program kind of fluctuates a lot, just depending on what the current needs are. Also, we do live in a rainforest, so since basically winter and fall is mostly rain, and so it's a lot harder to get out to these community events. But community is still something that's super major for us at the moment. In our current stages, we're focused on making sure that the program is good, as classes are good, but we have not forgotten about the community. We do these things that every once in a while called like an open house where people can come explore the gym, see what it's like. But our currently we're mainly focused on the gym, but we absolutely still do the community events. They just typically happen more in the summer, and then in the wintertime we lock in on the actual program itself.
No, it sounds like you guys have done a great job in the beginning to show the community you're there. Now your community is actually in your gym and they're helping you. That's how it should work anyway. They're helping you promote just by word of mouth as well. So great work with that, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so let's dig into now. You guys have an established program of kids, right? You guys got a good little rec program. You're doing all the reps to fill that up, and you guys got to about 100 kids. And then naturally, we were like, okay, what's the next step, right? Like, how do we level up this business, which is taking things to, like we talked about, the sport of ninja, right? Taking our recreational program and making this more serious for kids and giving them a pathway forwards with competitive ninja. So, why don't you guys talk a little bit about your competitive program? I know that it's been a strong focus for you guys over the past couple months or so. So, why don't you talk about that? Why you do it? Why does it make sense from a business standpoint and also a customer standpoint as well?
Yeah, for sure. So we originally launched with the one team, and then we do tryouts for to get onto the team. So we invite people. Every coach in the gym has a certain number of invites of, hey, these are kids in my classes that I see every day that I think could make it. So we bring in about 30 kids for the tryout, and from there, 10 kids make the team. The tryout is a really big thing because it does a lot of things. Like tryouts for kids are obviously very stressful, and that builds skills. It shows us as coaches who is able to handle those situations. But even for the kids who aren't yet able to handle those situations, it builds those skills up, which in my opinion are like necessary 100% to be successful in life, to be able to handle those high pressure, stressful situations. So it builds those skills in the kids. And then it also, because there's tryouts and because kids are getting there, we make little cards to invite them to the tryout. They're getting them. It just builds excitement and hype in the gym around that time, which is really cool. Then obviously once you get to the back end of when it's the team is picked and we're inviting people to actually join the team, we add 10 kids to each team. For the gym itself, you're taking a customer, you're adding more value into their lives. Of course, they get more training, they get this community, they get more access to the higher level coaches. And then of course for the gym, you're taking a customer that's worth X number a month. And for us, we give them 3 times the amount of in-gym hours, so the cost is 3 times. So you're taking that one customer and kind of 3xing their value now, as well as building those relationships where they will be a part of the gym for a much longer period of time. The families get really engaged. We have families on our competitive teams that are incredibly helpful, just volunteering, helping us out. And they're the families that keep us the most accountable when something slips or we didn't do something as quickly as we wanted to, or the way we wanted to, or whatever the case may be. Those are the families that really keep us accountable to the vision that we have, because they share that vision. So there's like huge benefits pretty much across the board. It also drives building of the gym. If it was just rec classes, you can do a lot with very little, but as we get to competitive, it forces me to be creative as a coach. When we're looking at, okay, we want to train these skills we can't train in the gym, it pushes me to build my skill set of, okay, now I'm going to build new obstacles so that we can train these things with the competitive teams. And it just like builds kind of innovation in the gym in a huge way. So there's on benefits to having the program, both like financially, community, and just training wise.
Just with the thinking of once we got to 100, how did we grow the program and add more value? This isn't to do with competitive. It's a little bit outside of that. But as a gym owner, it was something that was quite difficult. Is just changing the expectations for myself as a business owner as well. Once we got to that state, because I've been a coach for so long, I got stuck into like the coaching mindset of just I got to coach, I got to coach, I got to coach. But really changing what the expectations for myself was added a lot of value to the program as well, in the sense of, okay, like I don't necessarily need to be coaching all of the classes. Like an adjustment of responsibilities and just reshifting the mindset was something that was really difficult for me, just because it wasn't something that I had exposure with, but it definitely helps. Like it's a necessary part of the process.
Yeah, you shift from being run by the business and being the coach in the business to then being the business owner and running the business itself.
Yeah.
Right, to have shifted more into that role. You're building a team of some other really awesome coaches there as well. The competitive aspect of Ninja, there are a lot of Ninja programs out there right now that don't have a competitive Ninja team, right? And I know Jake probably has some good insight on this because he runs a competitive team across multiple locations, right? I know that it's a big piece of your business as well. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, or if you have any other additional questions for them.
Yeah, regards the competitive team, one of the things we found as we grown, and I like what you guys had said about taking a large group, and there's really only a limited spots available. We have had our competitive teams and our teams over, I don't know, 8 years now, probably 8 or 9, whatever it is. And it's changed over the years as the sport has grown. And you guys are on this new growth of the sport, whereas we've had to kind of change with the sport. But in regards to competitive team, what we're finding is we had offered it to too many people, in the sense that they just weren't at that level yet. One of the things we are in the process of, and like you guys have done a good job, it sounds like, is actually offering those spots to the ones that really qualify to be there. And that's, as we have grown with the sport and grown ourselves, is implemented. We got to continually implement that too, is not offering the product and service to just anybody. You have to qualify to do it. Great job with that.
Thank you. Yeah, I would say our perspective would be just making sure that because it is a little bit more of a commitment. We want to add more value. So making sure that the students, like, if there's not more students to the point, just the ratio of students to coach is fair.
Right.
If I have a competitive team and I have 30 kids on my team with the same training time as a smaller team, I'm not going to be able to give them that same amount of time. And
Correct.
necessarily look at competitive as just specific skills. It's more so like we look at their ability to grow as well, and we look at attitude, effort, and encouragement. So just being able to have a smaller team where you can really lock in, pour in that knowledge, dedicate the time for growth and learning helps. And then you don't even need to be the most strong, crazy athlete. It's you got to be able to commit to the mindset it takes to become an athlete like that.
No, that's a great point, and that's part of the culture component of, hey, you might have the skills to be on, this team, but your maturity might not be there yet. So these are things you got to work on to get here. And I'm more specifically talking about kids, but it applies to adults too.
Mhm.
Because it goes back to everybody probably wants to be on team because there's a status thing that goes with it. You're working with, you get more reps, or it's really the status around it too. Brandon, to relate it to football, I'm sure you wanted to be in the NFL. If it was a choice to you, you would have just said, "Yep, I'm going to the NFL." But it just
Yeah.
doesn't work that way sometimes. And that in ninjas there now, where it's yes, we all want to be elite ninjas. We all want to be in an elite team, but there's a process to get there.
Yeah, and you guys have done such a good job, like on the topic of adding value. And Bailey, you just spoke to this around like smaller class sizes and more effort, but also like mindset pieces. You guys have implemented nutrition pieces. You guys have implemented all types of other value adds for these people and the kids that are in your program. Like this stuff is going far past ninja training. Like we're not just developing ninjas anymore. Like you guys are developing human beings holistically in multiple aspects and facets of their life. I absolutely love what you guys have done with your competitive program and just getting really creative around the ideas of what more could we bring to the table? What more could we help them with? And I think if gym owners could get to this state of asking themselves that, of it's not just about ninja, what more layers can we be adding to these kids' lives and how can we be helping them develop as human beings as well? We talked about it abstractly, right? Around what are these pieces? I would really love for you guys to share what it actually did for the business from like a numbers perspective, right? So last month you guys had a monster month. And so walk me through that if you're open to sharing of what kind of impact could this really have on your business?
Yeah, for sure. So just like numbers wise, we run our competitive teams in seasons. We have 5 month seasons, which sets you up really well to do as like from the gym standpoint to do paid in fulls. So what we do is we offer a bit of a discount if you pay for the entire season, and it makes it easy on the parents because they're locked in. They know their kid has their thing for the next 5 months. It's paid for. It's done. From the gym standpoint, we anticipate now after running a couple seasons it'll be about 50% of the people that are going to be on the team will pay for the program for the team in full, so that brings in a huge influx of cash at one point. So the biggest benefit for us was summer in this industry slows down. Kids, especially out here in our area, because we have a very small window where being outside is comfortable and fun. In the summer, a lot of people want to do that. So a lot of people will go to hiking, they'll go to different sports, things like that. So you slow down a little bit, but our competitive team launches in September, right when school comes back and things get back into the swing of things. So it allows us to have a bit of just a cash injection really quickly so that we can start working towards building. If we're adding new equipment, we're adding new programs, or whatever the case may be. Of course, in the world of business, all of that needs funds behind it. So it just gives you it can give you just a bubble that you can work through for the rest. And then you still have kind of 50% of that program that will be paying the monthly, and the value of those kids specifically monetarily to the gym is like I said, it's 3x what your rec program is. So you're bringing all these customers to a newer level in the business where it's more profitable for the business, as well as getting a bunch of just a lump sum right now, which in many cases can be super beneficial if you're looking to make a big purchase, or you're looking to, if you got a loan to buy a rig and you want to pay that off, or whatever the case may be, it can be super beneficial. Just like, I have this cash right now, you can plan around it, because it's okay. We know September, we're going to get a bit of a hit of cash. We're going to get another one in 5 months later, whenever that is. And you can just continue to plan and build when you're going to bring adjustments into the gym, when you're going to, oh, I need to hire a new coach. Good thing I have this little float to pay for their training and all of those things.
It was our first competitive team that Brandon actually ran. We were also very early on into the business. And for us to continue operations, we had to do a massive renovation. And thank goodness we had a competitive team, because with no joke, the amount of, even without the team, like just the cost of the renovations, as well as just like the day-to-day shifts that Brandon and I were managing, oh, that pressure is so real, like very real. So being able to have that injection of cash, like Brandon said, legitimately helped us out massively, especially in that time, because to operate, we needed that renovation to be done. And thankfully, we had a competitive team to help us get through that process. But what a massive weight that was taken off of our shoulders because of that.
It's just good strategy, right? With the paid in fulls, you guys asked right at the end of your presentation and just threw it out there. And a lot of people will take you up on it, because if they have the money, they like to just get it paid and done. But I love the perspective you guys keep with it, because it's like, this business has ebbs and flows. It's gonna dip down in the summer. It's also gonna dip down in the winter again. And so being able to strategically place these things at specific times of the year to help provide that cushion for you. It's like, everybody knows summer attrition's coming, right? It's like, why not sell a paid in full in May before they've already committed to all of their vacations and all of these things, right? And so there is ways that you can leverage this paid in full in this gym business to help you with the slow seasons, right? And to provide that extra buffer.
Absolutely. That's the business in Ninja. You guys are taking all things into consideration from the broad stroke. So great work with that. And it sounds like some of this is very familiar to some things I've heard in training before. So it's great that you guys are actually implementing it and following through on it, because that, from an education standpoint and knowledge, there's so much out there, not just in Ninja, but in life in general. And it's literally right at our fingertips now. But it doesn't matter unless you execute on it, it means nothing. So great work with that, you guys. So when it comes to you're just coaches in general, and since we're on the topic of team coaches or more advanced, how do you go about that from the coaching component? Because I want people to understand, and we talked about this a little bit at the very beginning from the question I asked. You guys haven't been in Ninja that long when it comes to the longevity of Ninja or where it's at. But so from that standpoint, it's not like you guys know every in and out of Ninja coaching and all the obstacles and the techniques and things like that. So how come you are successful? And you spoke to it a little bit, but how do you instill that in some of your newer coaches or coaches you currently have?
So one of our mentors has given us uh, tons of wealth of knowledge, but I think specifically for the coaching aspect, they would always say you want to look for the clay and not the pot. So that means you don't necessarily need someone who has tons of coaching experience or is on American Ninja Warrior or has tons. Like, what you're looking for is somebody who has the ability to grow, to learn what the culture is, and to just build on their skill set. I didn't have any ninja experience. Brandon, from what I know, doesn't have any ninja experience pre-ninja. But what we both do have is a growth mindset. We want to improve. We want to get better. We want to make an impact. And honestly, if we can do this while looking towards the future of building family and providing for ourselves as well, that was a big thing. And a lot of people say that people don't want to work. I personally don't agree with it. So I think the thing that kind of separates us is we highly prioritize our coaches. We want to make sure that they have the resources they have. We want to make sure that there's clear expectations. We want to make sure that there's like a path forward for them. because realistically, I think most people, not everyone, because I do think there's certain personalities that kind of complement coaching, but I would say most people, if you can clearly give them an expectation and like how to measure that as well, will be able to do well. As if you're like, hey man, like this is going to be something that we can grow into. Because for me, without any experience, if I were to get into coaching, just let's say I'm just a new coach, I don't have any ideas of what's going on, I don't know if that's something that I could make a career of, just because like how many ninja coaches do most people get to interact with? Not very many. So I wouldn't really see that as a job where I'm like, oh, I can make a career out of it. So being able to make a career out of that, I think, is a huge thing.
And we just had a conversation around this with Brandon like last week on one of our group calls. And I'd love for you to share some of the insights of like how do we take somebody from zero knows nothing about ninja to hey, now they're going to run my competitive team? Like what are the things?
For sure. So it's the biggest base component, like Bailey talked about, is having a person who's willing to grow into that position and willing to like probably make mistakes along the way. And then secondly, from my standpoint, having the willingness and the making it a priority to give them the skills, then to teach them what they need to do, to spend a little bit of extra money on staff to bring them in on a Saturday and work on these skills, and having the willingness to actually pour into them. And then from there, it's just setting clear, we have like a clear ladder of this is day one to 20 years down the line, and this is a career for you. We have a very clear ladder of this is what it is, this is how you get there. And we usually don't do it immediately just because we don't want to overwhelm people. But as we've had a coach in for a while, they've worked up their coaching skills. They're feeling comfortable in their classes, feeling comfortable with their kids, knowing they need to build relationships and stuff. Then we'll sit down with our coaches and have a conversation of, hey, this gym business is growing rapidly. We've been around for about a year and a half, and we're going to continue to be around, and we're going to grow as we do that. So there will be opportunities for you to build. I like to try to take some time to know what that person might be more interested in. For example, we have some people who are like, I would love to stay coaching and be on the floor coaching forever. And then you have other people who are like, I would potentially like to work on business things, or I would like to work on like sales is really interesting to me. So it's just finding what those people are interested in and giving them a super clear path to how to get there. We use, and this is something that we got from Allie, which has been amazing, is we use like a scorecard for our coaches. So they clearly know what they need to be doing to be successful in their job. They get raises as long as they are successful every 6 months, which is super beneficial to keeping that coach engaged. They know even if I'm not growing to being the head coach of the gym, I'm still growing in my abilities as a coach, and my money is growing along with it, which is super beneficial. And then just, okay, we've gotten this far, this is where we think you could be going, but we'd like to see you work on a couple skills. So we actually have an athlete in our gym. His name is Shaden. He is a phenomenal athlete, a great human being. We asked him, we were like, hey, we're interested in making you the head coach. Is that something you're interested in? Gave him the time to think about it. He said yes. And we said, okay, I want you to start working on one small component of that job. Show me that you're willing to do the work, you're willing to grow in that way and capable to do. And then, boom, he's half trained, not half trained, he's a little bit trained. And then we can move him into that position and he's ready to rock with it. And he knows where he's going next in his position and where he could go in the overarching umbrella of the business as time goes on.
I love that.
Awesome.
And I trained both of you guys to be a competitive coach, right? So just some insights from my perspective, but it was like giving you guys the room to fail. It's okay, yes, clear expectations and the pathway and the training and all of these things, but it was also allowing you to fail and being okay with that and being able to support you in that and then provide constructive feedback along the way. And then tactically, there was a couple things that we did. We made you guys interview for the position, right? It wasn't something that you just got promoted to. You had to show up to the interview, you had to earn it. In that interview process, I printed out the rule books of the leagues and I said, read them. And then I asked you questions in the interview that would tell me if you read the rule book or not, right? And that kind of counted towards you or against you. But it also allowed you to learn a little bit more about the leagues and what this competitive ninja thing was all about in the first place. We also invested some time and some money to take you guys to competitions, right? Was, hey, we're going to take you to a competition. We're going to shadow you. And the first time we just went there to watch, right? We just sat back. We talked about all the intricacies of what was going on and what was happening. And then the second time, we actually brought a group of kids there, right? And then it was like, it was go time for you guys to be in the coach mode, giving the advice, doing the warm-ups, like making sure everybody was where they needed to be. And so those are some things that you guys could do for somebody that doesn't have literally any ninja experience at all with being a competitive coach, just to help ease somebody into that position, but also all of those things, and then providing them the room to fail and the room to mess it up a couple times so that they can have that learning curve as well. But you guys have done an excellent job with that. And you may mention to, hey, this business is growing, right? And you're going to have a potential place for you to build, like talking about your staff members. But I am curious, what do you think contributed most to Elite Ninja Development's growth so quickly?
I think genuinely, to like, this might be a simple answer, but I think it's because we care. Like, I genuinely, every single one of our coaches cares so much. There are times when we're talking about like how to make an impact, like maybe a coach is having a difficult situation, whether it's Brandon, whether it's me, whether it's one of our other incredible coaches. They really feel like the weight of the responsibility in a positive way, where it's not like crushing them, but it means a lot to them. They're always looking to be their best because they want to give their best to the kids that we have, as well as like we care about the coaches, we care about our families, and I think that makes the actual product of classes be the best. I think we've definitely gotten a lot better at our marketing over the last year or so, but before we were even a program, people were sticking around. Even if they didn't know us, they got exposure to it one time. So I think when people meet us, they know it's genuine, they know it's authentic, and like I would rather someone, if someone's in our program and they're not finding a benefit from him, I'd rather them go see, like, we genuinely want to see kids be successful. If our program could provide that for you, which I think we can in a number of ways, then let's do it. If it's not pushing you to progress or to be successful, then I want you to go pursue that goal no matter where it is.
I love that. And being okay with that, being okay with customers walking away because it's not a good fit for them. Right.
No, and that's a total trickle down into, like you're saying, into the coaches and instilling that in all of your staff, because they set the example when you're not there for these new staff that come in, and that's impactful.
Brandon, what are your thoughts? Why do you think Elite Ninja Development has grown so quickly?
We way back in the day before we started, you and Charlie set a culture in the gym that we were in, and were very, when it came time for us to do our thing, you were very adamant that that culture be protected, or whether it's the one that you guys created or the one that we built off of it, whatever the case may be. We have been, in every decision that we've made, that culture has been part of it, and making sure that not only are we protecting it, but we are making decisions that are in line with the culture that we are building and the community that we are building. Bailey and I stand in front of hundreds of people a week and say, this is what we want to do, this is what we're going to do. So in our actions, we have to do those things. And I think that has been huge, because of one of the things that we said a long time ago was like, we want to be, the reason we chose Elite Ninja Development as the name is we want to be the premier ninja gym in the country. And obviously we're at the very small early stages of that, but that is something that we both believe in. That's something that's central to our business nucleus, and we need to then be accountable to that. So all of our actions and decisions have pushed us to that. So it's really just, like Bailey said, having a belief in what we're doing, feeling the importance of what we're doing, and then holding each other, ourselves, and like even the coaches and kids in our program accountable to that vision. I think people can see the realness of it, and then the vision that we have benefits ideally benefits everyone it touches. So it's super easy for people to buy into that.
Yeah.
Two more super quick reasons: Brandon, Bailey, as well as everyone else on our team as well. But I would like to give a lot of credit to my business partner Brandon, as well as to myself. At the very start of the process to where we are now, our goals are aligned. We're still moving towards the same goals, but us as individuals have changed and grown a lot. I can say the person who I am now is drastically different than the person I was 3, 4 years ago. And I've seen the ways that Brandon has grown and changed and adapted to the challenges in his life. So I would like to give some credit to, as well as to the awesome team that we have.
You guys done a great job. You said something in that last one, Brandon, about being the premier gym. What does that mean to you?
That's a super cool question. We want to be able to push the sport of ninja in Canada forward and have a gym that is capable to do those things while still doing the community, the culture building. We want to get to, I'm going to shout out a couple gyms in our area, but there's Momentum Ninja, there's Life Force Ninja in Bellingham, incredible facilities
Right.
run by incredible people. We want to be a facility like that. We want to be able to push and adapt and build this sport so that it can affect more people and do it in the way that we've been running our program up to this point of keeping the community at the heart, building the culture, focusing on growth of our athletes and our staff and everyone involved. Yeah, I think that's what it means to
Yeah.
me, is being
No,
able to do it at a high level and do it the way that I feel is right.
yeah, no, that's awesome. Great answer.
You made mention, Bailey, of you guys have changed a lot as individuals, and I've seen you guys change a lot. And because running a gym is just all rainbows and right, it's not easy. It is a hard thing to do. And if you are thinking about being a gym owner, know that it's not going to be sunshine and rainbows all the time. And you have to face a lot of things that are challenging personally, professionally, within the business, outside of the business. What are some things that maybe you guys didn't anticipate that you've had to overcome just growing into these new individuals that you've needed to be able to bring this business to success?
There was a lot of the expectations that I had, they were all jumbled around. So as far as like expectations that I had for the business, we smashed a lot of them, and we were off in just strange ways. Like I thought it would take us like years to get coaches, and we ended up getting coaches like kind of 4 months in, like into our actual facility. I would say the things that were hard to adapt to is like, I would say for the most part, most of my life I've been a very like independent person, and you can't run a ninja gym all by yourself. And if you are, then holy, like you're doing a good job. Wow, keep it up. But I would say that just diving into what it means to be a team member, being able to be vulnerable as well as show that trust has been challenging, just because it's pretty hard, man. So I think having that person or that team beside you to be there in the vulnerable times and the highs and lows is massive. I think for me personally, it's the kind of the managing of kind of the low areas and just making sure we remember like where we come from, where we're going towards, and those goals. The day to day and like being in the gym is not too crazy, but just experiencing the very drastic, like what the stress can be like at that level, it has been something to adapt to for sure.
So,
It is incredibly stressful. I've seen everyone around me change in such big ways that I care about. Like two of the most important people in my life are, of course, my wife and Bailey. And it's like seeing my relationships with these people change and seeing the adjustments that they've made as people in the time. There's been so much stress on everyone's shoulders. And I think the hardest thing, and it's a thing that 2 years in that I'm just getting to working on now, is just ensuring that I don't forget that my wife is my wife and the woman that I'm going to build a family and a future with, and giving her the time she deserves. Don't forget that Bailey's one of my best friends in the world, a man that I consider a brother, and don't making sure to not look at him in those times when things are like Bailey said, there's that 1% of time that is tough, making sure that those times don't color the way that I look at the people I care about around me. It has been the hardest thing for me, of just like, this is a high stress situation. It's important, and it's something that Bailey and I we both feel is so important that we're going to passionately disagree at times, and just ensuring that those things don't get in the way of the vision, and even more than the vision, the relationships that mean so much to me has been my biggest struggle. And just giving those people the time that they deserve outside of the, because it's easy to be like, I see Bailey 6 hours a day plus every day, like we're sitting next to each other in an office. I spend a lot of time with Bailey, but then also looking back and being like, oh, I haven't got dinner with Bailey and just chilled in 8 months. So just making sure that those important things get the time they need.
Hmm.
No, that's great stuff, you guys. And just always resort back to what your goal is at this point, being that premier gym. So how do you do that? Don't get distracted. I'm trying to give you some advice here now. Is don't get distracted by, because you're going to be, and you might have been approached, you should open a gym here. You should do this. You should do that. Does that help you get to that premier gym status? From experience, it doesn't. What it does is it distracts you, and then 4 years go by and you're like, oh shit, I forgot where the ninja industry is going because I've been so focused on growing more gyms, doing this. Now, that's not a bad gig either. I'm not saying that. If you want to add more stressors, you can, but don't lose track of what your ultimate goal is. And that's always going to change. But I would just say always think about what your goal is. And right now it sounds like to be that premier gym. And if that means you can add 3 more locations or grow in a bigger space, whatever that means, but just think about that. And that would be one thing for you guys to discuss as you continue this journey. Honestly, there's days where I wish I just had one location and I was bloated up. That that still comes in my head once in a while. Yeah, it would just be if I just had the one location and I would have these other stressors. It's give and take.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's insightful for you, Jake, I think, to be able to reflect on that and still look back on it and be like, oh, the days
Yeah.
of one location. And
One of the things, Bailey, you had said when you were talking there was like a lot of the time it is gravy. It is fun. And that triggered something in me to go, holy shit, I remember that.
yeah,
Like when I was in the gyms, yes, it is, it can be. And so that was my advice. That's where that advice is going. Like, don't get distracted. And I'm not saying I was distracted or anything. We made some decisions to go a different direction. Think about what your ultimate goal is now, and that might change down the road. So that's all.
so let's end with this. What advice would you give to others that are wanting to start a ninja gym?
I would say practice what you preach a little bit. Ninja is a sport where you're constantly going against obstacles. I think it's a great metaphor for life, and I think it's going to be a great example of what you'll experience when you run in the gym. You in ninja, you get a path, but you get these rules of you're not allowed to do this and you're not allowed to do that. But as ninjas, we create the path anyways. We find our way even through the obstacles and the challenges and the rules. So it's not always easy, and there might be a little bit of pain points as you go. But I think what we get out of ninja is that fulfillment of growing, becoming a better individual, getting through these obstacles, becoming more capable. I don't see ninja as necessarily like just a sport. I know this is kind of cliche, but it's very much a way of life. I find when you get into the sport and you're faced with the hard things consistently, that builds character. And as you make progress and celebrate those progresses, you're able to grow as an individual, and you'll very realistically find out more about yourself as well. And I think the process of starting your ninja gym will be similar. There might be some extreme highs and extreme lows, but remember, it's not about perfection, it's about progression, and like finding your way, finding your path and creating it.
I love it.
This is not even just a ninja gym, but like anything. And this is something I'm super passionate about. And I've made my friends very angry at times when they bring me ideas of, I want to try this, I want to try this, because I'm very passionate about it. Then do it. Then that's the biggest thing. If you're interested, if you're interested in starting a ninja gym, if you're interested in picking up golf, if you're whatever the case is, just do it. I think a lot of people have such a fear of failure. And in my opinion, the only failure is if you don't try. Because if you try and you do not succeed in your goal, like Jake said, yeah, my goal was to go to the NFL, go to the CFL, play professional football. Maybe I didn't do that, but I did play football at a high level for a long time. I opened up new opportunities. I met my closest friends. I met my wife. And there's so much benefit from it. So whatever your thing is, whether it's you want to open a ninja gym, you want to do any other business thing or life thing, just do it. Because even if you don't get to where you're going, where you want to get to, the benefits that it'll bring are so far outweigh sitting for 2 months and stewing and being like, oh, should I, whatever. Because that's 2 months. Our lives on this earth are very short, and that's 2 months that you're not going to get back. So just go and make sure you have a plan. Don't just be like, woo, I'm doing it. But like, just go and do it and make the mistakes and learn from them. And you'll look back. It's been 3 years we've been doing this now, and it's crazy how far you'll have come in that short time.
And you,
Awesome.
so thank you so much for your honesty, your vulnerability today, and sharing your story.
Keep doing what you're doing. You have the passion for it. You have the passion not just for the ninja, the members, your team, but for the actual business. And one of the other things you touched on with being partners, good supportive base there. You will run into tough times sometimes, but like you guys had stated, you got to just talk through that stuff and keep building off each other rather than get caught up in the little things. So great work, you guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sally. Appreciate your time and your support. Thank you very much, Jake. It was a pleasure officially meeting today.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys sooner or later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Around the ninja.
One last thing. Oh, how can people find out about Elite Ninja Development, and where can we find you?
Awesome. So you can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, go to our website, eliteninjadevelopment.ca. We do offer a free trial package. So if you're interested in that, definitely come check us out. So if you're looking to improve, build up your resilience, build a healthier relationship with your mistakes or anything like that, if you're looking to get more confident and capable to pursue life, pursue ninja, encourage other people to do ninja. It's very a young sport, but there's so much more benefit to get out of it. So definitely go explore it.
Love it. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate you.